What's up, ladies? And Mark Poulton.
And
Hey,
members
I
of the
like how
chat.
you. I like how you had to do that.
What's that? What?
Hello, lady and Mark.
Oh, well, I mean, Mark's not a lady. I wouldn't think.
That is true.
He's got a kid.
Do you know what
I
he's
mean,
identifying as today, Leroy? It could change tomorrow, but today it could be a lady.
come on.
I don't think Mark. I don't think Mark. I don't think Mark plays that game. It's just.
No.
He can identify as a professional wrestler, and you should have gave him a better intro than that.
Mark plays that game. I don't do it. That was hard work. Just that one. It took like 20 minutes. Like that. Yeah. Let's say hi to the chat. We have Ballendor in here. We have Past Master Dan, 6 a.m. Comics, Maromi, Phil Diaz, Splat Guts. I haven't seen him around in a while. Kenneth Rocafort's in the house. What's up? We got Leandro, who's very, very excited. He's always excited.
Leandro's always excited, especially about Poulton.
Or Rocafort.
Yeah.
Leandro just goes around from channel to channel singing my praises. I appreciate Leandro.
Finally, the man gets his props. What's taking you so long? Mark, I feel like we've given you props like from the beginning, like the inception of this channel. We've always shouted you out.
I mean, it's the birthplace of the moral compass.
Well, that was your chat, but yes.
No, I think I was over on your channel and
was it?
Lurking in the chat, yeah, and you called me the moral compass for the first time.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Amanda B saying #Rocaforth. Yeah. Mark's not a lady.
Sounds right.
He's the man. What's wrong with y'all? 20 minutes is not long enough. What's he going on about 20 minutes?
I don't know.
I have no idea.
I don't
I don't know what
understand.
he's trying to say.
Maybe he wrote that 20 minutes before the stream started.
Oh, I don't know. Trenches says Maromi. I don't know what that's about. General Piggy's in the house. I heard Mark Poulton can hit. I'm guessing this is a wrestling thing, Mark. I don't keep up with it. Is that what this is about?
I don't know. I don't. I'll take it as a compliment. I don't know.
How you? Oh, we got Eddie Winkler, who would of course he's part of the Poulton pack. I would say.
Yeah, he's an MFer, a Mark follower.
Yeah. And how can he miss the tribute to the great Mark Poulton?
There you go. All right, before we get into it, I want to go through your origin story and all the rest of it, like I was saying, Mark. But I've been on the great crusade to find the most white trash food I can find. And I know you're a fine connoisseur of foods because you sing the praises of Taco Bell on this channel.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you love Olive Garden.
Absolutely. It's my homeland. I'm Italian, so
yeah. So I think this might be the most white trash food I've ever seen, Mark.
Oh, that sounds fantastic.
I still haven't had a chance to try one of those.
I mean, that does look amazing. Just saying.
On a white trash scale of 1 to 10, what would this be? Do you think, Mark Poulton?
Man, I would give it a 7. It's not the pinnacle. But it's pretty good.
What? Wait. What do you mean? What goes higher? The Nutty Bar ice cream.
Maybe the Cosmic Brownie.
No, my wife just picked me up the strawberry shortcake roll thing, little W one. I have that ice cream in the freezer right now.
Wow.
I bet the Nutty Buddy bar would be better.
I don't know.
You know it's white trash because Jim Cox says his mouth is watering. Taco Bell breakfast is where it's at. That sounds delicious, says Eddie Winkler. All right, well, there you go. Anyways, I thought that was interesting. So,
Eddie brought up hot dog pizza.
Hot dog pizza is delicious.
Is that when you don't have any toppings for a pizza and you just start cutting off hot dogs?
No, I don't have a picture of it on hand, or I'd show you guys. All right, Mark. You've got all these books. Are these all of them?
You know, after I took the picture, I realized I forgot a few.
Which ones are not on here?
Little Graveyard Shift, 1 and 2, and some ash cans.
Some ash cans. Little Graveyard Shift's the one that Kyung drew, right?
Yep. And Nerd Wonder drew the first one.
So the first one you did was Graveyard Shift, right? That was with John.
Yep. Yeah.
Now,
Great. Yeah. Go ahead.
now, how did you and John meet? Like, I know you told the origin story, but I don't know if people go in your origin story a lot in CG. I feel like you talk about wrestling and
Right.
oily men crawling and all over each other.
Yeah. So John and I, we go way, way back, early 2000s. We were both fans on the Rob Liefeld message board, and he started working with Rob. He was like the artist from the message board that like Rob handpicked to work with him, and then I was like the writer guy that Rob picked to start working with him. So we were each working with Rob on projects, and I had this idea for a book about the Universal monsters as superheroes, and I DM'd John. I was like, hey, I think it's like we should work together. And I pitched Graveyard Shift to him, and John was like, a lot of people want me to draw their book, Mark, but you're the first person to ask me to draw monsters, so I'm in. And that was 2010, but we had known each other for maybe, I don't know, 5 years, 4 or 5 years prior to that, just from being on the message boards, seeing each other at conventions. So Graveyard Shift kicked off 2010. We actually did a Philadelphia Comic Con, a Wizard World, and the Graveyard Shift Ash Can, which some people bought from the first campaign. We sold that at that convention, and John, it had a blank back cover, and John was doing sketches on it for like, I don't know, $10 or something.
You also dipped your
Nice.
toe into the DC stuff for just a little bit. I know it wasn't that much, but how did you get into that?
Yeah, so Rob Liefeld was very good to me. Gave me a ton of work when he was at Image, and then when DC picked him for the New 52, he was doing, I think, at 1.6 books for them. And he was like, if you want me to keep doing these books, I need some help. And they were like, sure, who do you want to work with? And he said, well, I want to work with Mark Poulton. And they agreed on it. And we started doing Hawkman together. And that was awesome. That was an awesome team. It was Rob plotting, me scripting. Joe Bennett was the artist, and Art T. Bear was the inker.
He's all right. Yeah.
Yeah, it was an incredible team, and they were so happy with the book. Like at DC, they pay you, they send you your vouchers, your pay vouchers, and after like the first couple issues, they sent us like 18 pay vouchers because they wanted us on for like 18 more months. It was like their reaction to what we were doing was so great. But then Rob got into some arguments with editorial, and one day I woke up and I went to work. I was excited because the new issue of Hawkman was coming to the comic shops, and as I left my day job, I saw that I had a bunch of notifications on Twitter. I checked them, and the first one I read was, I sure hope Mark Poulton has a job after this. And I was like, what? I was like, what? And so I saw how everything went down, and I actually found out I didn't have a job at DC online before my editor even contacted me. So,
Man,
yeah,
straight drama.
Yeah,
straight
welcome to
drama.
the mainstream.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we have our share of shenanigans over here that you avoid for the.
Oh yeah. I try to stay out of drama. Even with the DC like losing my job, I never took it public. I talk about it now because I think it's a funny story, and it's led me to a much better place. So I don't know. I don't like drama.
So you've been doing Graveyard Shift with John, and now you're through four campaigns. You just did 4.
Yep.
And then alongside that, with when I got Graveyard Shift 2, I also got U.S. Assassin in the mail. I think that was the first one, if I remember right. So
Yep.
How did that start?
So U.S. Assassin was a property I developed with friend Mike McMahon, who I also met from the Rob Liefeld message boards, and he was
I'm gonna have to ban that name here in a little bit.
Oh, you're gonna hear it a lot if you keep asking me about my books. But like Mike, John, and I were all friends. That comic convention that we sold the Graveyard Shift Ash Can at, Mike was there tabling with us, so we were all there. Mike's been like part of the like the group since the beginning. And Mike, when we launched the first Graveyard Shift campaign, instead of doing Little Graveyard Shift with Nerd Wonder, we were originally going to do another Graveyard Shift book, like a supplemental book with Mike as the artist. But Mike was in the middle of a move and he couldn't take it on. So we were like, well, we'll get you like eventually we'll have something for you. So when we were thinking of stretch goals for Graveyard Shift, we were actually thinking while we were fulfilling the first campaign, John came to my house to do it. And he was like, what do you think if like some ridiculous number, like if we hit $170,000, we give everybody a copy of US Assassin, we'll pay for the printing and we'll give Mike some money to like for all his work. And I was like, that's great with me as long as Mike's cool with it. Because it really, like, giving away 1,000 copies of our book really hurt our first US Assassin campaign. But I mean, just the exposure, I think, was fantastic.
Yeah, it would seem if you wanted to give away your first book, you probably shouldn't have gone. Like, couldn't you gone with like a
sampler or something?
Like you might like give it away with Cyberfrog would have been the only thing that hurt more than giving away with Graveyard Shift.
Right. But I mean, I don't know if you with the Graveyard Shift campaigns, John and I always go like big. So we gave away a book bigger than Graveyard Shift. It was an 80-page book, free to all backers. I was pretty excited about it.
And then Sea Dog and Codename Killswitch.
Yeah, so that was Chase, my son Chase, who has been into comics and wanting to make them ever since he was born. He was literally born into the business. When he was 2 months old, he sat on in my arm asleep as I signed A Cat Named Haiku books at San Diego Comic-Con. Mm-hmm. So he's just grown up knowing Daddy makes books. And when Graveyard Shift started doing incredible, he was like, I don't want to make this kiddie stuff anymore, Dad. I want to make like cool comic books. So we came up with Sea Dog. That was like his idea of a cool character. And it was supposed to be like a family-friendly book, but then Clint Helinski got involved.
And not so much, yeah.
Yeah, and then Clint was like, "Hey, can I put my characters in there?" And that's Codename Killswitch, and I was like, "Sure." And then it like quickly became like an over-the-top TNA book, and Chase like still give me grief because like he can't bring it into to show his classmates or anything. And I was like, eventually, Chase, we'll finally do the Sea Dog book that, you and I wanted to do.
That's hilarious.
But yeah, like, Clint was like an artist I've known for a long time when I worked at Arcana Studio, and I loved Clint's artwork. And I was like, oh, this is too good of an opportunity not to work with Clint.
Yeah. Let me shout out some people that popped in. We got Jeremy Birds in the house. What's up? Joe Sontag. What's up? Splat Guts, I think I said hello to earlier, saying that I always want to hear your bad news. I don't want to hear Mark's bad news. Julie's in the house. What's up? Phil, Eric Weathers had some exciting stuff happen with Eric today. So there you go. So you got, so let's get back to it. Then you had Viking Wolf.
Yep. Viking Wolf. So, when John and I were mapping out Graveyard Shift, we knew we had to expand the universe. And John tasked me with creating 40 new characters. Well, I came up with 41 characters, and I thought one of them was so good I kept it for myself. And that was Viking Wolf. So I was talking with an artist, Matt Dalton, at the time, who I thought was incredible, but he had no interest in being an interior artist. He just wanted to be an inker. And I told him he was too good to just be an inker. Like his artwork's phenomenal. And
I would agree. Yes.
Yeah. And I told him like I would come up with the perfect book for him to draw. And he asked I wrote Viking Wolf. I showed him the script and he was on board, but he said, I had to make it. I needed to bring in someone else to like handle the heavy lifting of the storytelling. And at the same time, I was talking with Renzo Rodriguez, who I love. And it was just, I don't know, a match made in heaven. but I know one people's criticism with the book is that it's too short. So Viking Wolf 2 is over 40 pages, and Matt's committed to drawing 20 some pages of the book. So, and Renzo will be back.
Nice. Well, that's good. And then now we have Black Owl, which, by the way, the link is in the description below. And I wanted to hear about Black Owl because you got yet another artist.
Yeah, so I'm working with Greg Poulton on that. Black Owl was actually his idea. Greg is Mike McMahon's best friend. Greg is also from the Rob Liefeld message boards. So it's like all these people that I was, like nerding out on message boards back in the early 2000s were all like doing books together, 15, 16 years later, which is pretty cool.
So yeah, wait, for those in the chat that are like below 25 years old, Bill, that's like message boards are what we used before Reddit.
Yeah.
So yeah. Okay, go ahead.
But yeah, Greg asked me if I had any interest in like doing a public domain character, and I was always like fascinated with public domain characters. So since like the 90s, Malibu put out a book called The Protectors, if you remember that. And like I just thought it was a cool team book. Then I realized these characters existed for, I don't know, 50 some years prior, but their copyright just ran out, and anyone was free to use these characters. And that's what the Black Owl is. Anyone can do a Black Owl book. But Greg and I decided to put our own take onto it. And like the one thing I want to do with all my books is try to make them a little different. Graveyard Shift, I think, is more sci-fi. Viking Wolf is more horror. U.S. Assassin, like over the top action. And then Black Owl, I think, is classic superhero books, like more 80s-ish than 90s-ish, which a lot of my other books are. So I like the idea of like changing things up and just making like a classic superhero story. Plus, we honor like the public domain character and do flashbacks. We actually brought in a different artist to handle the flashback scenes and keep it in that cool, like, I don't know. I find it like a little charming, the 1940s comic book look.
Real quick, I did want to hit this Phil. We need to have a Phil appreciation stream now because he said I would never go anywhere near a live film message board.
Do we really have to?
No, we really don't.
Okay.
So, Mark, I mean, you have all these IPs. Do you have any more? Like, obviously, you don't need to.
Yeah.
Shout them out, but I mean, you seem just to like look at all this. This is like 3 or 4 years. I mean, better than I do how long, but that's a lot of books you put out, man.
Yep. A bunch of new properties are actually in the works. I'm doing a book. Besides doing Viking Wolf with Renzo, Mandy, and I have a book coming out. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the artist Chris Graves, but we have a book coming out with a new property. There's tons of new properties. My next 2 projects are already all the artwork's done. One of them is actually a new property, Loose Threads, which I've been teasing forever, but it's finally done. We were waiting for the last 28 pages to be colored by Anthony George, who's the colorist of Graveyard Shift. And when he finished the Graveyard Shift 4, he was like, "Oh, I'll finally finish up these Loose Threads pages." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And I wasn't expecting them anytime soon. I was thinking maybe in like 6 months or something. He gave them to me like a week later, so that book's all done, and I'll be crowdfunding that in the fall. But yeah, I'm always coming up with new properties.
So you have all these IPs now. How do you put out a schedule in the year? Like, so you're looking at the year, right? And you're like,
yeah,
like a Graveyard Shift, and John does a lot of that under his Indiegogo. But you do U.S. Assassin, you do Viking Wolf, you do. I mean, how do you like? Okay, this is when I'm going to do this. This is when, like, how do you do that?
So I won't launch anything until it's at least the pencils, inks, and colors are all done. That's just the way I operate. I mean, I've seen debates on Twitter on like what's the proper way of using crowdfunding. For me, I like to have pretty much everything done before I launch a book. That's just one less concern I have to worry about. So basically, it's up to the people I work with. Like if they get the if they get the work done, then okay, that's the next book in my logjam of books. So right now we're looking at my next campaign is the U.S. Assassin versus Graveyard Shift hardcover, and then I'm doing Loose Threads after that because those 2 books are done. And then the book after that is up to debate. It's either that Mandy Renzo project or Viking Wolf. Whoever gets done first, they'll get the next slot.
So like you were at DC for just a little bit for the
Yep.
Hawkman thing, but now you come into CG and you get like you're around Malin, who you've known forever, but like Shane Davis and Kenneth Rocafort actually did some Viking Wolves. How's that? Because you're not only a creator, but you are a nerd as well, like a comic book nerd, like a lot of the rest of us. So how is that? Like,
Wait,
tell us.
he's a comic book nerd? I thought he was just a wrestling nerd.
No, I wish he'd talk more
It can be
comic.
both, right?
Yeah, no.
I thought he was just #just a writer.
Oh yeah,
I'm all these things and so much more. But no, like the Kenneth Rocafort, like we were streaming at John's house. John was gracious enough to host me to close out
I remember that. Yeah.
Viking Wolf, and like Kenneth said, "Oh, I'm working on some fan art." And I'm like, what? And then he finished it by the time the stream was over, and then said I could have it for the campaign.
Wow.
And then like, then he was like, "Hey, do you want me to color this?" And I was like, "Yeah, but I'll save it for a cover for the next campaign." So now I have a colored Viking Wolf piece by Kenneth. That'll be one of the covers to book 2. It's incredible because Kenneth's one of my favorite artists to begin with, and now he's doing fan art of my character.
Yeah, and it's
amazing.
It goes beyond that. I mean, you get a rub with Billy Tucci, shoulders of Billy Tucci, Lepresti, and whatever else. So that's got to be pretty.
Oh yeah, no. So like people don't know this, but like I guess technically I'm one of the Comicsgate kings, but I always feel like I'm out of my league hanging out with them. So
wait, what do you mean technically? Either you are or you aren't.
I get the link every week.
Well, how come you never go in there?
Take the link.
I feel
Yeah,
like
Mark.
I feel like I'm out of my league talking with those guys.
Yeah, but you could come in here and talk all the time, Mark. You never it's never I mean, you have lots of things to say, man.
Yeah, I don't know. I always when I'm over with them, I always feel like I have no business speaking up.
Well, I mean, I think right here speaks otherwise, my man. Like,
yeah, that's impressive.
Well,
yeah. What period of time has all this been put out? Because I don't remember when the first one hit. Like Graveyard Shift.
So the first Graveyard Shift launched in 2017, but it didn't fulfill until February 2018. So that's basically 4 years worth of work.
Splatgut says Mark's classified secret weapon is he's not afraid to keep working on things consistently. Others should take note. So there you go.
That's the biggest lesson I learned from losing my job at DC. Because at the time I was, scripting Hawkman for DC. I was writing Evangeline over at Image, and I thought, this is like the best it's ever going to get. I'm going to have these jobs forever. And then Evangeline got canceled, and I was like, well, that's okay. Everyone at DC loves what we're doing at Hawkman on Hawkman. And then I got fired, and I had nothing ready to go for myself. And I was like, oh, that's never going to happen again. I'm going to just keep working on book after book after book. And fortunately, enough artists want to keep working with me that it keeps me busy.
How hard is it? Because you have I know we're not going to get, you have a full-time job. I just want to throw it. I mean, you have a full-time job, but I mean, look, your workload in comics as we're looking at it, it's pretty heavy. So how hard is that?
Oh, it's very hard, especially when it's time to fulfill the books. I'm not going to lie. I was burnt out last year by the end when I was fulfilling U.S. Assassin. That was like fulfillment for me, I think, started in maybe April last year, and I didn't finish until February of this year, but that was like book after book after book, plus flying to Michigan twice to sign Graveyard Shift books. I was like so burnt out.
I think calling that a signature is being generous.
Ah, come on, man! It's the I think the most classic signature in all of Comicsgate.
If anybody doesn't know, hold on. Let me see if I could zoom in. See this right here? That's Mark's signature.
It's like a Klingon symbol.
Well, I mean, the banks would take that. They'll be like, "Oh, it's signed."
I've seen worse
Right.
signatures.
You might as well just put an X on it, Mark.
Isn't that like a lazy J? Where's your name even in that?
It's a P. It's a stylized P.
Right.
Lazy J.
That's what
Sounds
you
like a
call it,
rapper.
huh?
It's an enthusiastic pee.
Hold on. Let me get to everybody else. Eddie says, "BS, Mark, you've held your own for quite some time. You are a king." I think everybody around here on our channel here, like we all agree. We all appreciate you. Leander says, "What? Hold up, Poulton. You are the man. You have fulfilled more campaigns than all of them combined. Maybe I'd have to. It'd be interesting. Maybe you have."
I think I probably have.
Now you're not shy. Slackgut says, "Mark is the only creator that I know that will always back without thinking twice or worrying about fulfillment."
Thank you.
So there you go. So that goes on to another question I find interesting, Mark, is like you're so nice to everybody, and I don't back all your books, and you know that. I mean, I think I back what I'm interested in, and you've never ever once tried to pressure me into back because I'm not a U.S. assassin. I got the first one with Graveyard, but you've never once said, "Why don't you come over here? You let me back what I want." But I think that goes into you're so many ideas, and I'm going to do this IP and that IP. Is that you trying to catch people on the next one, or how's that work?
I've always wanted to it even goes back to like when I started my career in the indies and like setting up for Comic Cons. I wanted to have something on the table for everyone, whether it's, horror or kids book or whatever. And I don't know. I think that's just the way my mind works too when I'm creating IPs. Something for everyone. And I don't know, it keeps it fresh for me as a writer, because if I was just writing Graveyard Shift, which can be a dark book at time, I'd probably get a little bored with it. But the fact that I can switch from something dark and serious like Graveyard Shift to something ridiculous like Sea Dog and Codename Kill Switch, it makes it a lot more interesting.
I do have to say, when I backed U.S. Assassin, I liked that more than I thought I would. So good job on that.
Thank you.
Was it in your top 5?
It wasn't in my top 5.
Was it in your
sorry.
top 4?
You know what my top 4 is.
All right. So, Mark, you were just talking about how fulfillment took forever, right? So,
but I was on time.
Right. No, you were. I would never say otherwise. But I'm just wondering, what do you learn? Because, I mean, look, you fulfilled all these books, and everybody says, you never, I mean, if you listen to creators who have done it like you have, right?
Yeah.
And you always say, what was surprised you? It's always like fulfillment. Fulfillment surprised me, or so how are you refining your process, I guess, because you were saying how you were burnt out and you were fulfilling U.S. Assassin. It took you a while. Are you refining that process at all?
I think maybe not fulfill so many books a year. Like I pride myself. I fulfilled 5 books 2 years in a row. So 10 books over 2 years, maybe 4. will keep me a little more sane.
That's just gonna allow someone else to come in and take that title, Mark.
What title?
Try the Fulfillment King.
Well, no, that's not the important title.
Oh, no one will ever take the moral compass. I've been around Comicsgate long enough to know no one's taking that from me.
Is there an origin? What is the origin to that?
Ask Leroi.
Yeah. So okay, Well, you knew it, and I didn't even know it, Mark. You tell it. Like, I didn't even know it.
So I guess it was when I first started popping in chats, like, because I didn't even like stream for the longest time in Comicsgate. Maybe it took me like 2 years in, and then I started becoming more familiar with the chats, and I popped in Leroy's chat, and he made a big fuss that I was there, like I was someone important.
You are. What the hell?
And come on, I haven't got the first 2 years. I didn't get any credit of for a graveyard shift or anything. Let's be honest. But like Leroy made a big deal and said I was the moral compass, and I never I don't even know what he meant by that, but I just took it and I was like, oh, that's something.
Right?
That's something I could run with, because John Malin kept telling me that I needed to become like a pro wrestling character if I wanted to succeed. So I was like, oh, I can take the moral compass and make it into something.
The moral compass is, like, I think I said at the beginning, but we'll go over it again. It's because, look, Mark never cusses. He's never in dramas, fights. He's never fighting with anybody on Twitter. He's never causing waves. He just puts out his books, man. Like, that's what Mark does. So that's why Mark is the moral compass. Like, you want to know what the right thing is to do, then watch Mark. He'll show you the way.
No, I mean, if I was involved in drama, I wouldn't have time to make these books and fulfill them.
It's true.
So, I guess that's how that started. So
along those lines, where'd you get Primetime Poulton from?
Oh, I needed something for my YouTube channel, and John was doing Malin After Midnight, so I just picked Primetime Poulton to be like, because I'll never stay up till midnight. I have a day job.
That's like Kevin before the stream's like, how late will you go? And I'm like, you don't understand. Mark goes to bed at like 7. Like,
I knew I was going to be a little late, so I just wanted to make sure there was some runway here.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the early stream time. I get up. I have to get up at 5 a.m. I hit the gym and then I go to my day job. So
I can't believe you don't think you're a big deal, Mark. Like, there's literally, maybe there might be somebody who's fulfilled as much as you.
Nah,
maybe.
there's not.
Okay, so let's just. I'll let you say that.
I don't know. Maybe Ethan has, because Ethan has a lot of campaigns, so he may have fulfilled as many.
Toys don't count.
That's getting clipped, Amanda.
Yeah.
They don't count in my book. Okay, I'll elaborate that one.
That's another thing you do. I mean, because I know you with Eddie and Joe and Sean, and it sounds like Mandy. Like, you're helping all these newer creators that come in. That they come in as CG. You're helping them out. I know you're a great help to Eddie. Like I said, he's in the chat. He'll verify that. But you do all this fulfillment. You do the time, and now you're putting in time on YouTube on top of it. You're working out every morning. You're going, and then you're helping these guys out, dude.
Yeah, I mean, we're trying to build something here, right? So you gotta help, I don't like calling them noobs, but you gotta help the newer creators out and get them to a spot where they can start succeeding, and then help other creators out.
Fly from the nest.
Right.
Yeah.
And I would say this is a fan, and I'm not a creator, and I'm always just going to be a fan, and that's fine. But if I see, because you brought up how Kenneth did a cover for you, and I see that Kenneth will do a cover for you, then you'll take the time and help with Eddie's book or Joe's book. Like, that means, I think as a fan, that means a lot to me, just seeing that kind of thing. So
I like seeing that too.
Yeah, and I don't think that gets appreciated enough. That's why we're having the Mark Poulton appreciation stream.
Thank you. I mean, I know you don't like hearing his name, but Rob Liefeld was very good to me early in my career. So, I mean, I try to pass it on.
Ethan's only fulfilled one book, just one. I'm not going down that road because I got a whole shelf of Ethan books. Eddie says it meant a lot to me. So there you go. Mark is helping the Aunt and Stuff crew. Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like, I've heard you around helping and all the rest of it. And I just don't know how you get the hours in the day, man. Right. Like, I always hate asking you to come on over here because I know you're so busy. That's like, because we're going to do this without you. Actually, you're just going to fire up and have a Mark Poulton appreciation stream.
One
But
way
I
or
was,
another. Yep.
I was like, I guess we should ask him. I hate asking him because
No,
when does he ever sleep?
ask me because I'll come on. I will.
Mark, I know like on the Indiegogo camp, it says 8 campaigns, but I think you've said in the past that you've actually been a part of more than that, right?
Yeah, it's like 13 or more. With
Okay.
Graveyard Shift, I'm part of that campaign, but John just never remembers what my correct email address is, so he just sends it to another account instead of trying to get him to fix it. I just created another Indiegogo account, so I have another Indiegogo account with like, I don't know, 5 Graveyard Shift campaigns as part of it.
So now we're on to the Black Owl. How's that going, Mark? Because like, how many days do you have left on it?
5 days it ends. I guess technically early Wednesday morning at 3 a.m. I'll be asleep. I think only once I stayed up till like 3 a.m.
It was Viking Wolf, wasn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah. I was in Michigan at the time.
Yeah.
Although I think I was falling asleep on stream, but yeah, it's going okay. I wish it was going a little better. Mostly my fault. I haven't been streaming as much, but I've had a lot going on. So, but it's a first book in a series, so we don't have as much to offer in the campaign. But I like the backer count, so I'm encouraged with the book. I think Volume 2 will do even better. Volume 2 is already in the works.
I think this is one of the this book here. There's a guy named Russ Leach, and he does a book called Only Death Can Save Us. And I always say he does that retro kind of feel without it being heavy handed. And I would liken this has like old school kind of, not that era, maybe later, but that's what I would say. I think this looks fantastic, Mark. Like,
thank you.
I hope people do. I hope it does pick up and you do get more backers, because I feel like this is a great idea. And usually I'm not a fan of public domain, but this guy, I mean, Black Owl's not like a huge public domain figure, so
yeah, and plus Greg and I, we've really made the character our own. Like this is like almost a reboot of the character. It's the grandson of the Golden Age Black Owl, so you get that public domain version in the flashback scenes, but really you're getting a whole new character who's just a Black Owl in name only.
So, like, how much are from a hashtag just a writer's perspective? How much did you go into rebuilding the world, and how much is going into that, do you reckon?
A lot. We definitely took our liberties with the original character. Like if you ever like research the original Black Owl or happen to find one of those old books, you'll see familiar names and places, but really we just we were inspired by the character and made it all our own.
So it's all new, pretty much.
Yeah. Yep.
So I actually have a question about that, because I know a lot of other creators have trepidations about messing with characters in the public domain. Did you have any issues with that, or did you feel comfortable with playing with this character?
No, I was pretty comfortable messing with it. It's not like there's a huge Black Owl fan base or anything. It was really it was Greg who decided like this is the character that he wanted us to do, because he came up with a cool modern take on the look of the character. And
Shelby did too.
Yeah, Shelby's cover is phenomenal, and it's also available as our black and white edition cover, because it's so good. But yeah, it's just I feel like this is really a brand new character, but we're using the public domain aspect of it to make it a legacy character.
So you think it'll be more than just one, obviously, right? Like
yeah. Volume 2 is already in the works. We'll do more. Greg and I are actually talking about developing a new IP after
Holy
Volume 2.
Smokes. Wow, that's another. Well, are you going to be done with Black Owl? Is it going to be wrapped up in? Is it like a 2-issue arc?
The story arc will be wrapped up in 2, but we'll probably go back to it. But we want to do something else in between.
Okay. So, yeah, like everybody, this is a book I think like there's a couple out there that I think probably need some love. Like you said, I think it's easy to hear a creator say I'd like to see it, but I'm a fan and I look at what's offered and I'm like, this book should be doing more. I don't know what you guys on the panel think, but I think that's how I think.
You need to show the Slam buddies.
Right?
That is what this stream is missing.
Actually, I can grab one right here.
Oh, we get it
Hold on a second.
live.
Yeah.
Oh, even better.
Hold on a second.
Yeah, I love the design on this. I don't have the original character in front of me, but this looks probably a little more sophisticated than that.
All right, I'm back. So the Slam Buddies, there's a mini version, which is a keychain.
Nice.
It's based. They're modeled after the old WWF.
Yeah, the Ultimate Warrior plushie. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we have.
I think it's a great idea to meld the two ideas together for your campaign.
Wow.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I'm such a wrestling fan, and doing like the CGWF stuff, I was like, well, I don't know if anyone else will think if this is cool, but I'll think it's cool.
All right. So the biggest, like one of the biggest controversies that you've ever been involved with, Mark, let me get you off that. That's got to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Was that you had never read Long Halloween as a comic book writer?
I did. I eventually read it though.
Did you read it?
I did.
Okay. All right.
It was all right.
That's what I was waiting for.
I wasn't missing much.
I could have went without it.
I'm just gonna leave it alone.
It's no young blood or
like you really been like, I'm gonna stop.
Heartburn.
Young blood. Profit. Yeah. All right. Yeah. So you were obviously you were born of that. That was what you came out of is when those message boards were hot. That was the boom, right? That's when that was going on.
No, I think like that when I got into message boards, I guess it was like early 2000s. So yeah, the image stuff was actually dying down. But yeah, image was like when I started reading comics in the 80s. I started with the G.I. Joe. That was my gateway like comic. And then I soon started getting like X-Men, Spider-Man, Justice League. I'm actually probably a bigger DC fan. Like I love the Justice League International stuff. That's probably next to G.I. Joe, my favorite comic book ever. But then like the image.
Wait, hold on. You said that, didn't you say Infinite was like your number one?
Crisis on Infinite Earths?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not like that's a mini series though. Like like an ongoing series. I would say it's like tie between G.I. Joe and Justice League International.
Okay.
But yeah, when the image boom started, like that showed me that like people my age could be comic book creators. And like, I don't know, those guys seemed like rock stars to me. And I went to Comic Cons and seeing people mob their booth, it was like nothing I ever saw before.
So now people get excited when they see you in a chat somewhere. Like,
yeah,
no, seriously.
Exact same thing. It's the exact same.
Well, no,
thing.
I mean, it's not, but it's still kind of cool.
Oh, it's very cool. Absolutely. No, I don't take any of this for granted. It's amazing. Like when I told the story before, but when John and I launched Graveyard Shift 1, I remember telling my wife, I was like, because we were asking for $5,000. I was like, I don't know what's going to happen if we don't hit this. like John said, oh, we'll just split the cost and we'll pay for it. I was like, I don't know where he thinks I'm coming up with $2,500. But then we hit our goal in like 10 minutes and the book went on to create to make over $100,000. And then I think like the next book made $100,000 in the first day. So
wow.
Yeah, you know, thank you to Comicsgate for like giving me a career.
That's great.
Well, I mean, look, I mean, we keep looking at it, but you've taken advantage of your opportunity, man. Like,
Yeah.
holy crap!
No, I always think this is going to end sometime soon, so I want to get every idea out and published.
I know I said this before the stream started, but Mark Poulton has the most books in my couple of short boxes than anybody else. So
Very cool.
I appreciate her. Just like 6 a.m. comics, we have some simping going on in the chat. So 6 a.m. says, Mark, show some muscles. Take your shirt off.
Look, Mark. Look, this is my only complaint with Mark. It's always wrestling, and sometimes I just want to hear Mark talk comics. That's all I want to hear, and there's nowhere to go to hear that, Mark.
I'll try better. I'm sorry, but here's something. Like, here's a scoop I'll give you guys. Like, I've been working out. Like, I love working out and going to the gym. I'm launching a U.S. Assassin pre-workout drink. That's not a joke. That's a real thing I'm doing.
Yeah, wait, is there like the company that makes those and they just like relabel it with a can or whatever?
Well, I'm working with them to do it. So I'll have like it's going to be called U.S. Assassin Blood of My Enemies pre-workout drink.
He's going after.
It's a good name.
He's going after all the nerds. It was like, I'm the moral compass. I will not lead you wrong. I'm going to overdose this with beta adenine. So if your butthole starts itching, it's working.
Is that the first indicator?
Yes.
How much cocainium it's going to be in it?
Just enough to get you through your workout.
Oh, well, I mean, that depends on your workout, right?
Yeah.
Mark, I try to, I've been trying to go to the gym. I get lost every time I try to go. So I don't know if I'm a candidate for your workout drink.
Maybe it just tastes good, and then you
don't like U.S. Assassin anyway, so you wouldn't get it just for the collectability of it. So
that's true. Well, Nolan did something like that with beer. I think he did like a Chanu beer or something.
Yeah, I
like
think
that.
he did. Yep.
Yeah.
Now, did that come to fruition though? Didn't something happen where he couldn't?
He couldn't mail it out, but you can go to this local pub up there where he lives, and you can grab it. Splat Guts said it right there. You need an alcohol version.
I don't like to drink. That's like another reason I don't like going on the Kings. They're always drinking, and I feel like pressured into drinking.
Here's a little pro tip, Mark, is just go get a vodka bottle, pour it out, and pour water into it.
Yeah.
And then act like you're drinking.
Maybe that's why he's doing that pre-workout drink, so he can flaunt that when he's on the Kings.
Oh, that'll be Fruit Punch Red, so that probably won't.
That's what you should do, Mark. Is you can make a
Yeah.
workout video, because you used to do that. Like in the mornings, you used to say, "Hey, here's starting my day." You used to take a picture or whatever of the gym. You could do a video of you and then just like have like a couple of vodka bottles just filled with water and splash in your face. And act like... That's some wrestling kayfabe shit right there, Mark. Mark still owes us shots from Graveyard Shift 4 launch. I don't think you're going to get them.
Yeah,
I don't think you're going to get them.
I had to dip out of that stream because I had to go. My wife was sick. I had to pick up her prescriptions at the drugstore.
Well, there we go. Anyways, I thought we go an hour. We're about there. So, if you're in the chat and you haven't looked at Black Owl, like go check it out on Indiegogo and consider backing it. I think you have to support Mark, man. Like,
I can tell you that there's a tier list add-on that I think is a really great deal on that. Greg has offered a sketch, an 11x17 sketch of for $75, and I don't know if you saw the campaign up there, Leroi, but you should see Greg's idea of a sketch.
It's a full-on commission, but
Yeah.
he calls it a sketch, and it's cover quality.
Where's it at? 75?
Keep scrolling down. It's
an
towards the
add-on,
bottom.
but-
So it's down like with the wrestling buddies and stuff.
I don't see wrestling buddies.
You didn't scroll down far enough.
I'm all the way at the bottom. Oh,
Nope, there you go.
Oh, okay.
That's a sketch.
There's the sketch. $75, folks.
Wow.
That's $75. That's better. You could go on all the auctions you want, and you'd pay more than $75.
Exactly.
Today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's
11
11
by
by
17.
17. Holy
Mhm.
crap!
Yep.
Wow.
So make Greg busy and
What are you
add on
doing,
a sketch.
Kevin? You like original art? What
No
are you
kidding.
sleeping
Well, I
on
was
this
looking
for?
at the original pages. 175. That's incredible. I mean, that's a good deal.
It's a
for
very
this type of art.
Batman-esque pose here. I like that. Like if there was like a gargoyle, that'd be cool.
Yep.
But this is like a bird. It looks like, Mark.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that is.
Well, look like
It looks like the side of
eyes.
a building. No?
Yeah.
Corner of a building?
Well, no, I'm talking about
Yeah,
like
the
there's a
statue
classic.
thing.
Yeah, there's a classic
Oh.
Batman perch when he's on like the top of the towers of gargoyles and
Yeah.
shit. Like, yeah, I mean, I think I said it to you before you even launched the Black Owl, Mark, that I saw a little. You showed me a little Greg stuff, and I thought, I mean, it's good stuff. So
Yeah, no, Greg's fantastic.
Yeah, the flashback scene.
ugh.
What? That was for Vanessa. I thought maybe.
Somebody was saying something. Was that you, Kevin?
Right.
Kevin, you weren't saying anything?
Huh? No, I'm good.
Oh, okay. All right. We'll wrap it up because Mark, you're probably going to bed in a half hour. So just playing. But you got a kid and everything else. So
Yeah,
I
I'm
appreciate you
busy
joining
man.
us, and we appreciate you, man. Like,
Thank you.
actually,
No,
when I told everybody I wanted to do a stream like this, everybody was excited. So
that's awesome. Like I said, I appreciate you guys doing this. Sometimes I don't feel like I am appreciated, so thank you.
Don't forget to grab your commission sketch, your buddy slam buddy. This is a really
$75
cool-
is a hell of a deal.
Yeah.
For that.
Oh yeah, that's
I
the best
snagged one, by the
bargain
way.
going right now.
Well,
Yeah,
I
for
would
that size,
imagine
that's
you would
great.
have. So, all right, we will talk. Oh, tomorrow the CG auction.
Mhm.
It's tomorrow and Sunday, right? So tomorrow we're just going to snipe the auction. So that's all we're going to do tomorrow. But we will be here nonetheless. We will talk to you guys later.